glad y'all tuned in. We about to get this show started. Yeah. Dr. Clyde Winners and Yoshi. Yeah. Then and now. We talking about back in the day and right now. Yeah.
Now let's introduce Yoshima the Genius and Dr. Clyde Winters, the godfather of research.
What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? How you doing, family? Another day, another day, another day, another day. And I'm coming to you guys live from Chicagoland. Yes, Chicagoland. Chicago is the place. Chicago is the place. This is where I live, in this town. Yes. But anyway, family, what up, though? Tonight we're having another night of Then and Now, you know. And as you know, on Then and Now, we try to talk about things that happened back in the day and how they relate to today. And so again, I got another good topic tonight. And this topic is a religious group, because see, religion has played a very important role in terms of who we are as a people in this nation. How you doing, Karen? Karen says, "What up, Doc and B1 people?" Yes, what up? You know, and the thing is, this is that it's very important that we remember that there's much to our story, and much of our story is often misunderstood, and it's misunderstood because the fact is that people have a problem. People have a problem with foundational Black Americans, because they feel that we're arrogant. They feel that we're show-offs. And it's not that we're arrogant, and we're definitely not show-offs, and we're not conceited. The problem is that we're recognized by the rest of the world as the preeminent, Black people on the planet. And that's because of the fact that we've done so much in music, culturally. We've done so much, in a sense, in terms of technology. I mean, the whole world runs off the basic technologies that we invented. And what was that? The telephone, machinery, Elijah McCoy, the light bulb, the computer, all these things we made it come into being. And because we made it come into being, this is what has a lot of people upset, you see. You know, and this is what is making it very difficult for us to be able to just be recognized as just simple people, because people are always looking towards us. They're looking for us to lead. They're looking for us, in a sense, to fight. And sometimes we can fight. But, lately we haven't been trying to fight for the immigrant. No. They got to go. The illegal immigrants, they have to go. First of all, because they're here illegally. And then secondly, they're here to take our jobs. And I mean, come on now, we can't just be giving up our jobs. And these people, in a sense, they thought they had a plan. And their plan was, we're going to replace foundational Black Americans. We're going to replace them with immigrants from Latin America. We're going to replace them with immigrants from Africa. We're going to replace them with immigrants from wherever the hell they want to, India, whatever, you see? So no, we have to stand on the fact is that this is our land, number one. And number two, we have to stand on the fact, in the sense is that we're not going to always just put ourselves out to suffer, put ourselves out to be mistreated, put ourselves out, in a sense, to be misunderstood, put ourselves out, in a sense, to just be, used as cannon fodder. No more will we be cannon fodders, No more will we, in a sense, just go out there and be the group that you can just step on, you can walk on. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are saying, where are we at? We on the couch. Like my couch right here. We're on the couch. because we're going to let it. If there's something out there that needs to be fought for, let the people who need the fighting to do the fighting. We're not going to do it this time. But again, I'm coming with you again. I'm coming to a story about a religious group that has a large following in the United States, and we're going to discuss that group. And these people, in a sense, are, it's the Nation of Yahweh. They're a black religious movement founded in the late 20th century, and yet, it's been Hebrew Israelites here for years. I mean, a lot of the black Hebrew Israelites began back in the 1920s, 1930s, but again, much of this maybe even back into the 1800s, because black people before the slave masters began to take over the teaching of the Bible in the slave huts. Many of the enslaved people, they did not really believe in Jesus Christ. No, they didn't believe in Jesus Christ. They looked towards Yahweh, and they felt that Yahweh was the only way that they were going to find salvation. And they felt it was through Yahweh and through worship of Yahweh and fighting that black enslaved people would become independent. Black enslaved people would find justice. You got to remember, in a sense, that the plantation was a very terrible place. When you visited the plantation back in the day, they usually had a brother, maybe with a stick stuck up from his ass and coming out his mouth, and they would, in a sense, have him right at the at the entrance to the plantation. If not a brother who would try to run away, they'd have some of the heads of black men and women who would try to run away. They would cut their head off, and they would leave their head hanging or put on a pike, and they would let it stay there until it rotted, just to let you know that they, in a sense, did not allow black people to have any type of liberation. They did not allow foundational black Americans to be free. As a result, in a sense, we knew, though, is that through God Almighty, yes, through God Almighty, we could find grace, mercy, and we could find, in a sense, enjoyment. What are you talking about? The plantation was terrible. Yes, it was terrible. But we weren't always just sad. We weren't always just throwing our hands up in the air. We also, in a sense, found grace and mercy. But let's talk about the nation of the nation, the Yahweh nation, and let's get it popping. Okay, you can join my Patreon to see the slides. You can go to Twitter at Dr. Clyde Winters, and you're going to find the slides that I'm doing for this presentation. And, you can find some of my comments on Twitter. Yes, often I'm on Twitter, talking about various things. So if you want to find out what I'm thinking about at the time, just, check out Twitter. And on Twitter, you can find out some more about me. Also, on my YouTube channel, I have over 400 videos here on every aspect of Black history. And don't forget, you can order my books at Amazon.com. Yes, order my books. Not one, not two, not three. Order all 50. Order them all. Yeah, get your books. Get your books. See? A very interesting video that discussed some of my DNA evidence for Aboriginal Black people being Black and the foundation of this country is a video called Dr. Clyde Winters' First Americans Were Black, DNA Evidence Reveals the First Americans. Find this video, check it out. This video is on YouTube. It's short, it's only about 6 minutes, but it's full of documentation information about my research that shows our Aboriginal origins and also shows the DNA that supports our presence in early America. B1, yes. It's about being B1, Black first. But Black doesn't just mean in the sense of color. Black was also, in a sense, means a very important word, and that word that Black means, it's brilliant. Yes. We are B1 Black first. We are B1 brilliant first. Yes, we are Black and brilliant. What is FBA? Well, since I'm an FBA, I'll tell you. FBA is not a group. FBA is not an organization. FBA is a lineage. A lineage is lineal descent from an ancestor, ancestry, or pedigree. As a result, we are descendants of the Black Europeans, Africans, and Aboriginal Blacks who built these United States. Yes, yes, yes. You can order my books at Amazon.com. Please order my books. Support me. Support my research. Help me to be able, in a sense, to keep reporting to you the latest facts. And if you want to know the latest facts in our history, you should have my books in your library. The Nation of Yahweh, a Black religious movement founded in the late 20th century. The Nation of Yahweh is a religious movement that was founded in 1979 by Houdan Mitchell Jr., who later became known as Yahweh ben Yahweh. The group teaches that Black people are the true descendants of the biblical Israelites. Their headquarters is in Miami, Florida. They also, along with some other Hebrews, they tried to migrate to Israel. But again, in a sense, the Israelis, in a sense, have proved to be quite racist. And they don't want to see these Black Hebrews there. But what these Black Hebrews are saying is that they are the authentic Hebrew people. And the Hebrew people are Black people and not the Ashkenazis who represent the tribe of Israel today. Houdan Mitchell he lived from 1935 to 2007. He was born in Enid, Oklahoma, as one of 15 children to a minister father and pianist mother. He served in the military and attended law school. He joined the Nation of Islam in the 1960s, adopted the name Houdan X. From there, in a sense, he began, in a sense, to preach as Father Mitchell, beginning and founded the Nation of Yahweh in 1979. They teach, in a sense, that African Americans are the true Israelites of the Bible. They reject the tradition of Christianity, which is viewed as a tool of oppression. Yes, yes, yes. You know, the Black Israelites believe, in a sense, that the Bible has been used as a tool of oppression to keep Black people down. There's an emphasis on dietary laws, dress codes, and behavioral conduct. They also believe in divine leadership, recognition of Yahweh, ben Yahweh as the Son of God and the Messiah. You know, this is very important. You know, people like to, use dietary laws as a requirement to be really a true believer. But I think dietary laws are just the basic introduction to most religions. You know, I think that when you look in a sense that at the basic law of the Israelis, don't eat pork. I mean, let's face it, pork's and scavengers. If there's scavengers, if they eat something that's diseased, you could catch a disease because they ate something maybe they had a disease. So you can understand, in a sense, that a lot of these dietary laws are practical laws. But again, in a sense, the Black Israelites are people, in a sense, who really have their own religious group. They're really strong in many parts of the urban centers of the United States. They believed early back in the day in acquiring real estate and established businesses, including construction companies, bakeries, and grocery stores. Membership expanded rapidly in the 1980s, attracting thousands of followers across the United States. They engaged in revitalization efforts in impoverished African-American neighborhoods in Miami. Also, they also bought a lot of farmland. Yes, yes. The Hebrews, they brought a lot of farms. They moved out into the countryside, and in the countryside, they tried to make sure that they built areas where they could grow their own food and they could be independent, you know. Also, you have to remember that many Hebrew Israelites have more than one wife, and in a way, that's not really legal in the United States. But many Hebrews have more than one wife, and they get along. You know, and it's kind of interesting that they get along because, see, really, in a sense, when you have more than one wife, each wife should have their own residence. At least that's how it is in Africa. You know, because as some people would say, two women can't get along in the same place. But over here, some people have successfully had more than one wife. So that's interesting, and they lived in the same place. The purpose of they have built a temple in Miami called the Temple of Love. The purpose of the temple was to serve as the central hub for religious activities and community programs. They also bought other real estate holdings and amassed a significant portfolios of properties and businesses in Miami. Yes, yes, yes. But there was a lot of, racism pointed at the group, and they also had accusations of promoting racial superiority and hostility towards white individuals. Some people engaged in criminal activities, members implicated in violent acts, including intimidation and murder to suppress dissent and enforce discipline. In 1990, Yahweh ben Yahweh and several followers were indicted on charges, including racketeering and conspiracy to commit murder, and they ended up in jail. So as you can see, most of the time, because of the fact that many black organizations that are pro-black, that are aimed at the liberation of African people, sadly, many of these organizations have been infiltrated. Yes, yes. Many of these organizations have been infiltrated by Army and police intelligence officers, and these intelligence officers are there to collect information about members of the group, and also sometimes they promote a lot of illegal activities. They promote, in a sense, sometimes violence. So again, it's very difficult. That's why if you're going to fight for Black liberation, you may want to go out and make maybe protests, but in joining groups, I don't know, because see, a lot of times those groups are usually in a sense infiltrated by police and Army intelligence, and why do you want to be set up to fail or to maybe end up going to jail for nothing? Yahweh ben Yahweh was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder and sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. He served 11 years and released on parole in 2001. The imprisonment of Yahweh ben Yahweh led to internal divisions and a decline in membership. Also during this period, many of the assets were lost. Many of the group's properties and businesses were lost or abandoned. And also they lost, in a sense, a great image, because public perception, the group's reputation was severely damaged due to criminal convictions and negative media coverage. This is what they did to the Nation of Islam after Elijah Muhammad died. After Elijah Muhammad died, many of the businesses that Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam had built across the United States, they went into decline. There was a falling out. There was a separatism of the group, and the group just began to fail. And that's kind of sad. A lot of people are always talking about, hey, segregation was good. Black people should go back to segregation. Black people had businesses. Black people were more stable. Black people were more supportive. So let's go back to those times. Yes, in a way that's true, but also in a way it was very fragile. The fact, in a sense, that many of the businesses that Yahweh ben Yahweh and the Black Hebrews created, and the businesses that the Nation of Islam created, were so easily destroyed after the death of the leaders, just shows, in a sense, the fragile nature, or not just the death, maybe the imprisonment. It just shows the fragile nature of these institutions. And these institutions, because of the fact that they don't have, in a sense, the money, is very difficult to provide them with longevity, And it still stands to reason that to have a successful future, we do need some Black millionaires to donate money and Black millionaires to be supportive of the struggle and to recognize that Black people need more justice. It's not so much, in a sense, that we need Black millionaires to go out and tear the country down. We don't want to tear this country down. No, we built it. We don't want to tear this country down because, hey, it's one of the most prosperous countries on the United States. Why we want to tear down something that we've made prosperous? But we do need to be able to develop methods and means to be able to make money and be able, in a sense, to make sure that our people, our children, have, in a sense, a future. And that is very necessary. After the death of Yahweh ben Yahweh, who died of prostate cancer in 2007, they became a very small group. But again, the movement remains a subject of study and discussion about religious cults and Black religious movements in America. The Nation of Yahweh represents a blend of religious fervor, racial identity, economic ambition, and controversy. The movement's activities in the 1980s, 1990s left a lasting imprint on discussions about race, religion, and community development in urban America. These are things that we have to maintain. Stop, 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 stop. Stop not supporting our groups. I look at the efforts now of Eve Henderson. Eve Henderson, you know, this sister is trying to develop a Black intelligentsia, you know, and we've had so-called Black scholars. Really, we haven't had really any Black scholars except for W.B. Du Bois, and I'd classify myself as a Black scholar because I believe that a scholar does scholarship, and that means that if you do scholarship, that means in the sense that you publish articles and you publish books. Sadly, except for a couple of people, you know, and W.B. Du Bois and myself, most people aren't publishing articles. Most people aren't publishing, in a sense, books that relate to Black people sincerely and progressively. As a result, books are not the only thing. You have to have research papers because it's the research papers that you build upon to be able, in a sense, to give your intellectual class a foundation. And this hasn't been done. It hasn't been done. Because it hasn't been done, we have to fight, in a sense, to make sure that it is taking place, you know. And see, our problem today is that we ignore the fact, yes, we ignore the fact that power comes from people, in a sense, who want to know their history. Power comes from people fighting to teach their history. Is very important, in a sense. You know, let's look at what's in the chat, you know. Karen Vincent says they had the show on TLC channel where the man had all the wives. They broke up and went separate ways for various reasons. Yeah, well, you know, but some of the brothers maybe still stay married. I know my son's friend, his daughter is a Hebrew Israelite. I think I don't know if she's the only wife, but again, in a sense, sometimes it works out. Dorvell said, would you consider a UIC group an offshoot of Yahwehism? I don't know. Okay, Empress of Yah equal to moon and Ra sun. Yahweh, Yahra, sun and moon maybe. But see, you got to remember, in a sense, is that many people, especially the Aboriginal Black people, they said that they only used the sun as a symbol of the creator, not the sun as a creator. They saw the sun as a symbol of creator because the sun, in a sense, meant life. The sun, in a sense, led for plants to grow. The sun, in a sense, made it possible for us to have daylight, to be able to work and do things like that. So they didn't really see the sun as a god. They saw the sun as representative of the power, you know, of God in terms of helping mankind to become all that they could be, you know. And so that's why it's very important, in a sense, that we do these things. Again, I wanted to talk to you about this particular process. I wanted to, in a sense, talk about this group, and I'm going to talk about other groups, in a sense, that can maybe, that were very, in a sense, organized. Let's see, what does this brother say? Avery says, we're more so naturalistic than storytellers. The king cobra is on the crown. King Cobra eats snakes, a symbol of justice in nature. Okay, you know, that's kind of good. Maybe in a lot of the when you look at some of the various symbols of some of the Merida kings, they did have, you know, the two snakes in the front of the helmet, but also, in a sense, you know, they say the snake represents the secret wisdom in a sense that man has, because you're not supposed to go to a deep consciousness, you know. Dorvell says, IUIC is the guys in purple on the street corners. Okay. You know, but again, in a sense, is that they're not, you know, like I said, you know, it's very interesting. We still need to fight to get ourselves to really, in a sense, understand, though, is that God is the only way. God is the only way that we will be able to really find justice. God is the only way that we're going to be able, in a sense, to be able to find true peace, because it's only through true peace. It's only through true peace, in a sense, that we'll be able to recognize the power and the influence of God. Yes, yes. We need to recognize the power and influence of God because see, God is all. And some people try to say, who is your God? My God is the creator, you know. And my God has many names. Some call him Yahweh, some call him Allah, some call him Allah, some call him whatever they want to call him. But my God is just that power that I believe that led to my creation. My God is that power that I believe in a sense that gave us all these riches. Yes, God gave us a lot of riches, you know. And what are these riches? These riches, in a sense, is the ability to love, the ability to see, the ability to be part of a group, and the ability, in a sense, to know that you're not alone. Yes, yes, yes. When you have God, you are never alone. That doesn't mean that sometimes you won't feel lonely, but you're never alone, you know. And the thing is, this is that you know, people have their beliefs. You know, I mean, just like in the past, the first religions, in a sense, were built upon women. And the reason that the first religions were built upon women was because of the fact that the woman bled, but she didn't die. You see, and because the woman had a menstrual cycle, because the woman, in a sense, went through a process of bleeding once a month, you know, that led to the development of the calendar because the woman had to count the days to know when her period would come, when because her man wasn't going to touch her, because the man knew that things that bleed die. But see, his woman died, his woman bled, but she didn't die. So women became, in a sense, that first symbol of death and resurrection because of the fact is that they bled, but they didn't die. But what we have to understand is that you have to have some faith. Some people believe today, there's a lot of black people that they believe in the sense that the church is no good. Maybe you're right, the church is no good. But what does the church shouldn't determine your faith in a creator. The church shouldn't determine your recognition that there's a power that is above you and that there's a power who can enlighten you and that there's a power who can, in a sense, give you a sense of being, you know. Dorvell, what did Dorvell say? Dorvell said, the woman not only bleeding, but brought forth life. That's true. That's true. The woman not only bled, that is something that I never add to the story, but that's something that needs to be recognized. Is that the woman, in a sense, not only bled, not only represented death and resurrection, you see, she also, in a sense, represented birth and salvation. You know, it's just like when people say, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Damn. I would have to say the chicken, don't you? Because, I mean, without the chicken, there would be no egg. But then people say, without the egg, there would be no chicken. No, 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 no. The chicken had to come first because it was the chicken that led to, in a sense, the egg. Karen says, it's the people at the church. Yeah, it's the people. The church is the people in a way. And because the church is the people, then we have to represent, in a sense, and understand that people make our communities and they make who we are. Torrin Ross says, because ancient people kept time based on the moon, they were considered a lunar cult. Therefore, the first creator was a goddess. I don't see why not. I mean, we like to call on men today, but I mean, I don't. If you want to call your God a woman, I don't see why. I don't see why that would be any problem because see, God is God. I mean, what is, the sexes only exists among us because we have to, in a sense, go through a process of creating ourselves by in a sense, mating. So that's something that I think is something that we have to take into account. But God is God to me. And I thank so much because I remember back in the day, Karen says that many people are false leaders, religious people, and maybe they are false leaders. But if you choose a false leader, then you're the one that's false because you can tell if somebody is a liar, somebody's a cheat, you see. So you have to make sure that you try to choose the right person. Like Reverend said, women, female, feed, iron, the vulture and bled to feed and protect his young from starvation. Okay. Again, the sense is that, hey, she protected us too because it's through her, in a sense, that we find our abilities to be representative in who and understand who and what we are. For some reason, society shifted to keeping time by the sun. Then the goddess became a god. Okay, time. That's because of the fact, in the sense, is that you needed both the moon and the sun. The moon gave us the calendar, but see, it was the sun that gave us the time of the day. Remember, because see, people early wanted to recognize hours, and to recognize hours, you had to look at the shadow, and it's the shadow. It's the shadow that gave us the time. You see, and so much of the time was dependent upon where the shadow, how long the shadow was, and the length of the shadow would tell us the time of the day. Now the night that came into really most of our time really tonight came with watches and things like that. But time is very important because it's through understanding time that we have an understanding of who, what, and why we're here. Torah says, for some reason, society shifted to keeping time by sun. Yeah, that's true. But again, they did that because the fact, in a sense, is that the sun is very important. And Dorville, I agree with Dorville. The chicken had to be first to fertilize the egg. True, But again, in a sense, is that I hope you enjoyed this discussion of the Nation of Yahweh. Don't just look at it once. You may want to return and look at it twice, so you can make sure that you get as much meaning from this presentation as possible. Thanks again for joining us today. And again, this is another edition of Then and Now. Take care.
Yeah, right now, it's time to wrap everything up, you dig? Yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Yo, and Dr. Clyde Winters, Then and Now. Yeah, I really appreciate everybody, all y'all support. Y'all like, subscribe, and share this, you dig it? Yo, you've been invited to the Then and Now. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the Then and Now. Yeah, Dr. Clyde Winters in the Yoshima. Intro, outro to the Then and Now. We gon' see you, so have dinner now. Yeah, raise your head, why put them down? B1 on that Then and Now. FB8 on that Then and Now. FBB on that Then and Now. It's all about unity on that Then and Now. My indigenous folks on that Then and Now. All my Africans rise on that Then and Now. Rise up on that Then and Now. And don't forget to subscribe to Then and Now.
The only thing that can save you is B1, B1, B1. To fight Cage,